welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about having an open heart. And this image came into my head a couple days ago. So it was my birthday on Saturday, right? Many people, if you are following me on social media, are aware. I got like 100. I know that social media is very conducive to happy birthdays, but I got like 125 happy birthday posts from people, and I was like, that's crazy. So Bailey read them to me, and she read each name, and I identified where I knew each person from. So that was kind of fun. And of course, I tried reading through like the first half by myself, and that triggered my head. Um, so I'm not just from that, but the whole weekend, my symptoms are very triggered right now. So it's late in the evening, and I just wanted to record because I feel like I need to and I want to, regardless of my head triggering. So here I am. And I had a meeting a couple days ago because I still go to my meetings every day, even when I sometimes don't record here because of my head. But I had a meeting about having an open heart, and it was talking about willingness and surrender and vulnerability. And I had this image in my head throughout the meeting of I have these flowers out front in my yard, and as soon as they start blooming in the beginning of the season, they don't stop. They bloom all season long. And it's like got one root but it spreads throughout the whole garden. So all of the other flowers and bushes and stuff, I just have a tiny little garden, but the little purple flowers will come up between all of the other flowers. And I just love this plant. And I don't remember what it's called right now, but the little flowers look like teacups. They're very cute. And when in the evening, when I let the dogs out for their last potty break, the flowers are closing. And when it rains, the flowers close. Lots of flowers close, leaves turn over, and stuff like that. There is like an active defense or something to that plants have to rain. And so this beautiful imagery was playing in my mind while I was listening to the meeting. And I was thinking, like, that just mimics my feeling of when it rains emotionally. When it rains, how I tend to just close up and turn over, you know? Um, so it's like I create some armor to protect myself when it's raining. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also, how do you get back up? You know, do you open back up? And does your heart open back up? Because I've I've met so many people in my life who talk to me about trust, like being untrust. I have a really hard time with trusting people, that kind of thing. And I am the opposite, I think. I mean, this is how I have always felt about myself. I feel like I've always been trustworthy, not trustworthy. I always feel like I trust other people. I trust until they give me a reason not to. And I have been hurt that way, but I have always been that way, and it hasn't changed. Like being hurt hasn't changed how I respond to people. And it's to me, it's kind of like that I start open. You know, I start with an open heart until I get rained on. And then I learn to close up. But I keep opening back up. Like for some reason, and maybe it's just because I haven't been hurt severely enough to not continue to open myself up to people. Um, and so I was thinking about this in the terms of recovery and about how often it seems like on a daily basis with the symptoms and everything, that I wake up, I try to wake up, and I do on most days wake up and I am open. I feel like my heart is open and I'm ready. I may not just jump out of bed, but I feel like I have every day, no matter how the day was before, I still have this just get up and do it. Like open yourself up, let's go. And that to me is people who live with chronic pain and chronic illness. That's what we have to do. We have to get up every day, regardless. And some days we get up and it feels like by the end of the day, it's like I should have never got out of bed, but on most days it's oops, I just hit the computer, sorry. Most days it's it's not regrettable. I feel like I get up and I just do and I have courage. I have an open heart. I'm willing to fail again. I'm willing to have a hard day. I don't know if I'm gonna have a hard day, but I'm willing to have a hard day if I have to, because the only way that I'm gonna grow, the only way that I can show up, the only way that I can live is if I'm willing to have a hard day if it ends up being one. And it never seems to end up being a hard day as much as I wake up and I'm afraid I'm going to have a hard day. I hope that makes sense. But in sobriety, it's similar, where I am willing to show up. So in early sobriety, when I needed to do my first, to show up for my first happy hour I went to, my first, like when I first started being sober, my word choices are going to suck, by the way. But when I first started being sober, at my company, it was a small company still, fairly small. It hadn't quite yet grew to the point where it started functioning like a bigger company. And by that I mean there was like alcohol in the refrigerator, and like 4 o'clock, people would start breaking open a beer or something. It wasn't like Party Central or anything, but people would be open to having a drink in the afternoon. And so for me, even getting through the 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock hour at work when people were considering breaking open a bottle of wine and stuff like that, that was hard. It was hard for me, but I just needed to be open to you can do this. Being open to yeah, word choices suck today. Being open to like not feeling good during that last hour. I had a desire to get through it. I had a desire to not drink while everybody else was drinking. And I'm almost feeling like I need to start the episode over, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep babbling so you can keep listening. I had a desire to get through it. I had a desire to stay stopped. And with that desire, I stayed stopped. I do have a point here. So with my vestibular disorder, it's like I recently started rucking, and I've been talking about that. It's walking with a weighted backpack. And I had a desire for the past 4 years to freaking find a way to exercise, find a way to get my heart rate up. And because I used to be a runner and I used to do yoga every day. And I have been so challenged to find a way to exercise, but I had a desire to do it. And with that desire, I can achieve anything I want. I used to tell my kids, if you want something bad enough, you'll get it. Because that's when you're willing to do the work to get it. So, progress towards these things only happened when I stopped counting how many times I failed and started just showing up, continuing to try. So when I was trying to stop drinking and I kept drinking, I clearly didn't want it bad enough. Because I just kept failing at it. It wasn't until I reached my low, and everybody's low is different, their bottom. I reached mine, and that's when my desire was met with action. I'm going to turn the light on. My camera's pretty fuzzy. Okay, sorry. It was getting dark in here. Okay. So, where are we at? So it's when my desire is deep enough that it is met with action and I start making progress towards whatever that thing is that I desire. So, a lot of times, I've been talking a lot about ego lately. And a lot of times, my ego is what is keeping me from reaching that, for lack of a better word, that climax of desire. Where it's gonna meet action. So my ego had to deflate in order for me to get that desire that willingness, really, the willingness to get in there and start doing something about it. Ego blocks the action. I've talked earlier this past week about it blocks spirituality, ego blocks humility. Well, it also, for me, it blocked action. So the positive effects of my program um, are they come out when my character defects start to dissolve along with that ego. So my defensiveness is replaced with acceptance. My need to control is replaced with trust. Well, that all happens in the same way that my desire, I keep using the word desire today instead of willingness because it's just a little bit of a difference for me between desire and willingness. The willingness is more of a trust word for me, more of that, open my arms up and just let whatever's going to happen happen. Desire is like I have a passion for it. Boris was I don't know. He's staring at, when the dogs just stare into at nothing and it's like creepy. He was just doing that and he just growled. Um, anyway, desire for me is more of like the passion, and my ego can block that too. Um, I've talked about like so when my desire is strong enough and the ego has deflated enough, that's where my desire meets action. And I've talked about in the past about joy, and one thing that I always hear people say is that finding joy. I found joy. I'm seeking joy. So there's something that, and I know it's just a play on words, but something that I've always felt since I started this podcast is I feel like joy is always inside me. Like, I feel like joy is not something outside of me that I need to chase. I feel like joy is like that flower that I was talking about. I feel like joy is the center of that flower. And I can open up the flower and let the joy surface, or I can close the flower and protect my joy in rain, in storms. So joy can surface in moments of stillness, gratitude, connection, all of those things that I experience in my life that open my heart. That's when the joy surfaces. I feel like the joy is always there, and it's my decisions, my actions, my spiritual fitness, my state of mind that enables joy to surface for me. So this flower metaphor is like when I am experiencing fear, shame, or I'm struggling with something externally or internally, it can close my heart. And it is, I swear, it feels like a protection mechanism. Um, when I'm able to process that fear, shame, or whatever guilt, whatever feeling that I'm feeling, anger, when I'm able to talk that through, share in a meeting, um, then that surrender and that humility that maybe needs to be practiced or I need to be reminded of, that allows my heart to bloom again. It allows my that flower to open again. So for me, joy is always present. It's my job or it's my action and my decisions that allow that joy to bloom in my life. Um, and just like training, physically training for something, I feel like we can train ourselves to more quickly bloom with things like going to meetings, practicing opening our mouths, picking up the phone to call somebody, our sponsor, going to support groups, meditation and prayer, all of these things that are conducive to keeping my heart open builds those muscles of faith and surrender. And it's like training for life, just like training for a 5K, it's like training for life. And when I sometimes get hurt, because I'm so used to having my heart open, I get to practice letting go and turning it over because there's so much I can't control. No matter how much I desire something, I can't control it. So that's when I need to practice surrender of control. And that's not being defeated. It is where, as I was talking about earlier in the episode, I need to get up and try again. It's not about failure and success. It is trying again. It's just continuously practicing that blooming muscle and allowing myself to let joy surface. Yeah. So, um, I have just felt very much like I wanted to try to articulate this metaphor because it really spoke to me, especially along the lines of this idea that we don't have to look for joy. I feel like it feels like a losing a losing battle or a difficult what's the word? Words are so difficult. Words. Um Scavenger hunt. It's like a difference, like a difficult scavenger hunt if I were to try to find joy. It's like I'm going to keep looking under things, looking through things, chasing, looking. I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to find it anywhere because it's inside me. And it's only going to surface if I just open myself, open my heart. So that's for me, that's what living with an open heart means. It's it's willingness, but it's more than that. It's a desire. It is a passion for I want to live happy, sober, and free. Like that's what I want in my life. And I want it bad enough that that desire is being met with action, and it's happening every day for me. Even today I slept most of the day to recover from my birthday pool. I went to the pool 2 days in a row with my daughter and with Emily and Bailey, the only two people's names I'm allowed to say. I went to the pool with them and it was super nice, but we also went to a restaurant and I haven't been to a restaurant in a really long time, but I really wanted to go to a restaurant and it was everything I wanted to be able to sit there and be amongst living, breathing people in a place of business. So it was really nice, but I do have a lot of symptoms right now. So, what's my point? I had a point. Um, yeah, even today, having dealing with a lot of symptoms and stuff, I still woke up and went to my meeting this morning. I still went to my vestibular support group meeting and I did the stuff that I needed to do to keep my heart open. And there happened to be a newcomer at the vestibular support group meeting. So I got to share my experience, strength, and hope, even on a day that I was feeling kind of poopy. So not poopy emotionally, but poopy physically. So, I just keep showing up. That's my point. That's my point, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.